Hello, everyone, and welcome to the, I guess, really super retro style here we got going with just the
Yeah,
image background. Um,
that's right. Audio only. All up in your ear canals.
just digging in there, here to stay.
hmm
Um, Geez, I already lost my train of thought. We're off to a rip-roaring start here. This is the Saturn Slam Reviews 2016. I guess for lack of a better word, we'll call it the Saturn Slammies. Um,
Ah, the Slammies. I like it.
Well, Slammies are what WWE usually gives out, but you don't get any
Ah,
Slammies this year, so you have to deal with us. We got your
that's
fix.
right. Homebrew.
Home brewing. So we got awards all up in. We got a few awards here. I didn't count,
I
um, but we're
think it's
going
about six.
6, 7 if you count the one category. Um,
Yeah.
so let's start off with Superstar of the Year. Now, a lot of you who listen to this and also listen to other wrestling reviewers dole out their rewards, you're probably expecting a certain name to be here, uh, but it's not there. Yeah, you're probably expecting AJ Styles, and that's a fine choice, but we felt
Absolutely.
that Dean Ambrose had just that much better a year. Now,
Mhm.
AJ, yes, had consistently better matches with everyone he feuded with. But, Dean had a good little feud with Triple H at the beginning of the year. And
Mhm.
he had some awesome title defenses on TV against Rollins. And then the excellent Shield triple threat match. And then had a bit of a downer with Ziggler. And then it was right into his feud with Styles. And that took up most of the year. And
Yeah.
really, as an important piece in the company, Dean really carried WWE when they needed him, when the company needed to be carried. Like when everyone was shitting on Reigns' push coming into WrestleMania, Dean stepped up to kind of like be the focus. And then what did he get for his
Mhm.
his trouble? He got essentially squashed by Brock Lesnar in 13 minutes in a terrible street fight. But it's
Yeah.
neither here nor there. Um, and then when the brand split was coming, and they needed to get the belt off Rings and put it onto a guy who the fans could enjoy, who they turned to? They turned to Dean. And when he cashed in Money in the Bank at when he cashed in
Money in the
at
Bank.
Money in the Bank, yeah, at the end of there, I fucking freaked out. That was just an emotional roller coaster
That was so
because
beautiful.
we were like, yeah, okay, here comes this match. Reigns is going over, and then Rollins went over, and you're like, holy
Whoa.
shit, Seth went over. This is amazing. And then Dean's
It's
music
beautiful.
hit, and you're like, oh my god, is this fucking happening? And it fucking happened.
And you're like, oh, it was the glory day.
Yeah,
It was.
walking on a cloud for a good 6 months there. Uh, and then it went straight into well, not straight into. He had the little pit stop with Ziggler, which wasn't a terrible match. It just didn't get enough time. Uh,
Mhm.
because we had to give. I don't. What match went too long? Um,
Oh.
I guess Cena and Styles was really the only long match before them.
Yeah.
But they had the
Yeah.
budget a whole bunch of time for that Randy Orton Brock Lesnar classic that
Oh,
we all were so enthralled by.
so great.
It
Mm.
was just definitely the best match of the year. Spoilers. No, I'm kidding. It's Brock Lesnar
Uh,
versus Goldberg at Survivor Series,
I was thinking the same thing.
which, in terms of shock value, definitely one of the most. I think the most shocking moment of the year
Yeah.
was Goldberg squashing Brock Lesnar in 90 seconds like it was a match on Nitro in 1998. Um, so anyway,
Why,
that's
why was that there?
Dean.
Yeah.
Dean edges out AJ ever so slightly for Superstar of
hmm
the Year honors. Good on you, Dean. You deserve it. You work hard. And
He has a great like his presence outside the ring is amazing.
yeah, fucking
Hashtag maiming.
maiming,
Maiming.
education.
It's just this
He's
ball
he's
charisma
the
where
world's
it's
strongest man. That's cheating for me. It'd just be elbow grease, just ripping and tearing. Why are you laughing at this? I'm tearing a guy's arms off. Yeah, Dean Ambrose on Talking Smack is one of the few treasures this nation can truly call its own.
uh,
Um,
like when his highs are high, they're super high.
yeah,
Because that's all I can say for him.
yeah. Like there are a lot of wrestlers had great years, and if you were to go just on match quality, then yes, I would say AJ Styles should be superstar of the year. But we focus
Now what?
more on that, get the whole
Yeah,
picture. Um,
absolutely.
so moving on to tag teams, this one was super easy. Tag team of the year is definitely the Revival.
Hmm.
All year, no matter who you paired them with, you got a classic. Whether it was Endzone Kaz, whether it was American Alpha, whether it was DIY, just churning out these great matches. They were a they were probably the hottest act in NXT, and
Hmm.
I hope before they get called up, maybe at the next takeover, they get a main event because they definitely deserve it.
Hmm. That really is saying something too. That that hot they're the hottest out of NXT, which is like it's a program that's known for like these really quality, like out of nowhere sort of talent.
Yeah, like they had I think yeah they had the best matches the last two takeover specials, uh, and
Hmm.
they had the best match the last three actually because takeover the end. Their match against American Alpha was probably the best on that card, unless I'm forgetting something, which I don't think I am.
Probably not. I mean, if it was amazing, it probably would have left a
Yeah,
bigger
cause
old mark in your memory.
yeah, Joe versus Finn was on that show, right? Yeah, Joe versus Finn
Yeah.
in the cage.
Hmm.
That was all right, but um,
It wasn't quite matched.
no.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just having the best match on a takeover special is quite the achievement. It's like having the best match on an old ROH show where everyone's trying to steal the show in each match. Uh, so and for
Yeah.
them to have done it, three times in a row, and
It's just consistent quality,
yeah,
and that's it's such a beautiful thing.
over the course of the whole year, and they're so good at just drawing heat.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
I get angry at these guys like I'm some fucking 8-year-old kid.
No, guys,
Be like
no.
fucking cheating assholes, and then I have to take a step back. I'm like, did they just get me to call them cheating assholes? Wow,
That's when you.
that's talent.
It's the top level of the art right there.
Yeah,
Yeah. So good on them for bringing out the best, and yeah, and the best.
the best
And
in just tag team wrestling, really. The Revival is such an appropriate name for them because they have brought tag team wrestling in WWE back from the dead.
hmm
Uh,
yeah,
and I can't wait for
it's
these
been
guys to get called up. I don't know which brand they're going to be on. For their sake, let's hope it's SmackDown. Um,
yeah. Fingers crossed.
yeah.
On the one that'll give you the good stuff.
So that brings us the feud of the year. I think the obvious choice here is Charlotte versus Sasha Banks. Um, but no, there were quite a number of good feuds this year. You had AJ Styles and John Cena. You had, I mean, as much as we joke about it, it had its good moments. Charlotte and Sasha for
Hmm.
much of the year. You had American Alpha versus the Revival, DIY versus the Revival, um, uh, AJ versus Roman, uh,
Hmm.
and then Dean versus AJ, which we ended up giving the nod simply because every match the two had, I gave at least 4 stars.
Yeah, and they just keep coming back at it. Like when you have 2 stars that keep coming back at it time and time again.
Yeah, they wrestled a lot too. Like for a while, they must have had like 7 or 8 matches this year, uh, and like
Yeah.
4 of them on pay-per-view, and it never felt like it was getting old.
And it was it. Yeah, when you have a feud like this, sometimes you get your ups and downs sometimes, but this one felt like it almost just kept going up.
Yeah, when you think about it,
Um,
so if you want to stretch it way back, Charlotte and Sasha started feuding at WrestleMania, but then they kind of quelled that, and they didn't really start hot potatoing the belt until like SummerSlam ish, maybe Battleground. But uh, they didn't their feud wasn't that much longer than Dean and AJ's was. But whereas with that you were like, oh my god, when the fuck is this going to end? With this you're like, yeah, keep going, fight forever.
fight forever, fight forever. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I wish they may. I kind of wish they traded the belt at least one time in there, other than AJ winning it at Backlash, which when I say that he won it at Backlash and I think about how long it's been since Backlash, I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah.
And then never giving it back. I really, the mark in me wanted Dean to go over at TLC, but I don't know where you would have gone after that.
Yeah.
We have to have AJ and Cena pick up their feud again.
Yeah.
So yeah, feud of the year we gave to Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles for their consistently great matches and really good promo work too, especially in the build to that triple threat at No Mercy with John Cena, where
hmm
Dean just buried Cena on the mic.
Oh,
One of the
that was
best
so good.
insults of the year. Have fun being the guy who plays John Cena on TV. And then,
Ah,
and then again on Talking Smack, he had a great line where he's like, it was completely unrelated to. He's like, 120 minutes Super Iron Man match. I challenged John Cena to that match. He said, absolutely not. He doesn't train that hard.
that's so fantastic.
Fucking
Yeah.
roasted him. Yeah, just great mic work between the two. It injected, for better or worse, it injected James Ellsworth into the mix.
hmm
Uh,
Should we do that category right now?
yeah,
Because
so
it is kind of a throwaway.
let's go. Peter suggested a category before we started here, and I think it's a great category to have. 2016 was a weird year in wrestling, to say the least, and this was actually on our match of the year candidate list, and it is probably the most 2016 match ever, and it's
Yeah.
Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles at TLC. Uh, so if you like pull back 5 years and you look at this match, what would you say? You have AJ Styles and John Moxley wrestling for the WWE Championship, and the match
hmm
ended with interference from this James Ellsworth character that no one even knew about back
Yeah,
then.
I didn't even know about it until he's been in for a while, and I didn't know about it until he came up and he started messing with stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, this his story is so 2016 too. Like I mean, there are other 2016 matches like Heath Slater and Rhino winning the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. That's pretty 2016. But like only in this year could a guy who was brought in just to job to Braun Strowman
Yeah,
challenge and defeat WWE champion AJ Styles.
They
Let
fucking
that
Rumpelstiltskin.
just
Yeah,
let
they
that
Rumpelstiltskin
sentence
this character.
sink in for a while.
God.
WWE champion AJ Styles um
Oh
beat
my
him
god.
3 times due to interference from former CZW champion John Moxley.
Yeah. Just oh my.
It's just so
This
2016.
so absurd. Yeah, and then at this final match, like he comes in out of nowhere and just like decides it.
Yeah, he turns heel, I guess, on Ambrose and pushes him off the ladder in one of Watch Mojo's top 10 anime betrayals of all time.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it when I saw him. Like, really? Is that what happened? What? So I
Cuz
just watched.
yeah, like I was a little upset because I wanted Dean to win, and I felt like the match, cuz they went off air like 15 minutes early, and I really would have liked that 15 minutes to be added onto that match cuz I was really into it. Uh, so I was a little upset there, and it is like the exact same finish. Uh, God, what match was it? I know who did the interference. So AJ Lee did the exact same thing in, I want to say it was it Ziggler versus Cena for some title, or Ziggler versus Punk or Bryan? I don't know. I think Dolph Ziggler was involved, and AJ Lee, who was his manager at the time, or someone's manager in the match, like did the same spot where they pushed him off the ladder into the tables. Um,
Right.
and so I like, as soon as he came out, I knew they had to do something to keep the storyline fresh, and I figured it was going to be a heel turn, but I was like, please don't have James fucking Ellsworth be the deciding factor in this match. And then they did, and I was upset, but it was okay because that's what they were going for.
Yeah. It was this weird master stroke,
Yeah.
and yeah,
It's like we were
just
talking about with the
so
revival when I call them fucking dirty cheaters. It's like that's what they want me to do.
yeah.
They made me
I
do
think
it.
yeah, like I said, I think they really kind of Rumpelstiltskin this shit and kind of weaved gold out of real nothing there.
Yeah.
But
Like,
I just and now I'm curious, where is it gonna go now?
well, so Ellsworth lost his championship match against AJ Styles. Surprise, surprise. Um,
Oh,
and now I guess they're doing some relationship angle with him and Carmella. I don't know where that's going.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that was kind of my reaction too. But it's been kind of entertaining, I guess. I mean, SmackDown's been on fire these past couple weeks, man. It's insane. Um,
Yeah,
so that was most 2016 match of 2016. Now we have best tabular construction of 2016. That award
yes.
goes to the Kevin Owens Convention Center, erected in the Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell match from Hell in a Cell.
hmm Just this wonderful like as they were building it, I go to Kurt. I'm like, what is he making? What is he doing? Is he just keeps stacking the
Yeah,
tables?
he stacked like 2 or 3 tables on the outside of the ring. And I don't remember if it was you or me who came up with the Kevin Owens Convention Center name, but
Doesn't
it
matter. It's
doesn't matter.
immortalized
But
in
it's
history.
immortalized forever. Never forget the Kevin Owens Convention Center, uh, October 2016 through October 2016.
Uh, I don't even think he got slammed through it. Like, I think he kind of like got hit into the side of it,
Yeah, it
right?
wasn't the cleanest break. I mean, it was better than when they tried to use Sasha to break a table in their Hell in a Cell match.
Let's brush a feather duster over this table
Yeah,
and
it's
see if
like
it'll.
no one stopped to think, wait a minute, this girl weighs like maybe 80 pounds. Maybe she
Yeah,
can't break this particle board table. They probably thought, well, she went through the announce table just fine. The announce table that's designed to collapse in on itself with the slightest provocation.
yeah, it'll work. It's fine. We don't need to test it.
and then it didn't work, and then they tried it again, and it didn't work, and then Charlotte's like, "Fuck it," and they just pulled this weird finish out of their ass.
Mm-hmm. Uh, oi,
That match. Um,
that match.
so that brings us, I think, to the big one here. Uh, this was a
Yep.
great year for wrestling, and we selected our match of the year out of a field of 13 candidates that left off some pretty strong matches to begin with. Like Dean
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose versus Kevin Owens, last man standing at the Rumble, wasn't on the list. The Intercontinental Triple Threat match from, I don't remember if it was from Payback or Extreme Rules, that wasn't on the list. Just a lot of, we had to cut a lot of muscle to even get down to the 13, and then picking one out of this was really difficult. So, in case your favorite match isn't what we picked, but is on the list, I'm going to read off the list, all this honorable mentions here slash runner ups. So, this is in order of occurrence. Our candidates were Dean Ambrose versus Triple H at Roadblock, Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura at TakeOver Dallas, AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns at Payback, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens at Battleground, Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at Battleground, Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano from Episode 4 of the Cruiserweight Classic, Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander from Episode 5 of the Cruiserweight Classic, AJ Styles versus John Cena at SummerSlam, The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler at No Mercy, hashtag DIY versus The Revival at TakeOver Toronto, 2 out of 3 falls match, the men's 5-on-5 Survivor Series match between Team Raw and Team SmackDown from Survivor Series, Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks from the November 28th edition of Raw, and AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose from TLC 2016.
Yeah. So an esteemed roster
Yes,
already.
quite a bit. Although looking back on it, I'm not sure that Sasha and Charlotte match is really in the same category as some of these.
Yeah.
It was good, especially for a television match, but I think I remembered it being a little bit better than it was when I went back to watch it. But, it was 2016. We had to be progressive and put a women's match on here.
We had to have a women's Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah. What a just great planning that is. So we didn't necessarily agree on this, but we kind of came to a bit of an understanding. So we're going to award a runner-up, and if you say you can't do that, I will remind you that this is our award show. We can do what we want.
Deal with it.
So our runner-up went to Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura at TakeOver. This was a really good match, and the hype was real. But at the end of the day, it was every big Sami Zayn match at a TakeOver. Like, it had a lot of the same spots in it, and Nakamura didn't bring the same level of offense that he might have brought to and granted, it was his first match in WWE, and he and Zayn had never wrestled before. But when you compare what Nakamura did in this match to what he did against AJ Styles in their Wrestle Kingdom match, it wasn't quite the same level of Nakamura.
Yeah.
Which bumped it down a peg, in my opinion. And I kind of talked. This was what Peter initially picked, and I kind of talked him into my match a little bit. Not to say that it wasn't deserving.
Yeah. Just for me, I just felt like, it's easy to go either way on this. Some people might say it was simplistic. I kind of felt it was subtle and fundamental, I guess. The kind of standout moment for me was when they were just throwing elbows at each other for a while, and like the crowd was going crazy over it, and it was like really high energy, and it was super hype, even though it was just them just throwing elbows.
Yeah. I think that spot maybe went on a little bit too long, but yeah, like the crowd really helped make this match special. And like
Mhm.
a hot crowd makes so much more difference. Like maybe if the crowd at TLC hadn't been so shit, uh, AJ
Yeah.
Styles versus Dean Ambrose may have been our match of the year because that was a
Oh,
great match with a crowd that could not care less.
I've heard cruiserweight classics with hotter crowd,
The
like with
Cruiserweight
louder
Classic
crowds.
had a hot crowd, but we've heard Cruiserweight matches on Raw get better responses.
Yeah,
Um,
it was just dead,
yeah.
and we were just sitting there like, oh, why?
And fucking
We don't deserve
Roadblock
this.
was even worse somehow. Now, granted, Roadblock was a worse show, but still, the crowd was just dead through all of it. Like, the only time they made a noise is when Roman Reigns made his entrance and they booed him vociferously. Which, really, guys, at this point, come off it.
Let him turn over a new leaf.
Let him, yeah, judge him for what he is, like, as a performer now. Don't judge him. Don't boo him because you don't like the people behind him. Like,
Hmm.
don't take
Yeah.
your hatred of Vince shoving a guy down your throat out on a guy who is a really good wrestler. Like, I want
Yeah.
a brief aside here,
Go for it.
relating to that match they had at Roadblock, end of the line. You know what Roman Reigns didn't do that like 90% of the roster does and drives me insane?
What did he not do?
He didn't look at the referee when he was counting three. He listened and he kicked out by sound.
Wow. Yeah, that's like it's such a little thing, but it shows that he's been working really hard.
Yeah, and like
Like he understands and he's listened and he's been working hard.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn both do that sometimes, and it drives me nuts. They look right at the referee to make sure they kick out in time. You know,
Hmm.
those little things make the huge difference in the overall presentation of the match. And like to contrast that, Braun Strowman, who has gotten miles better uh, over the course of the year, he had the most blatant example when Sami Zayn covered him and he like turned him and Sammy like 45 degrees to look at the referee.
Yikes.
It was bad. But anyway, our match of the year for 2016 goes to hashtag DIY versus the Revival from Takeover Toronto in the 2 out of 3 Falls match. Uh, this match was just straight action from the get go. It never really slowed down except when, you know, to let a big spot soak in. Uh,
Hmm.
just off the chart psychology, like there is in every Revival match. The high spots from Gargano and DIY, the two just work so well together.
Oh, it's beautiful. They make like they like drum partners because their matches are so percussive.
Yeah, and like every little thing the Revival does plays so well into every little thing DIY does. The Revival are such despicable heels, and DIY are just really easy to get behind baby faces,
Hmm.
and they just this match from start to finish was just a masterwork in tag team wrestling. Like
Hmm.
you couldn't like first of all, they made the stipulation work for them. A lot of times, like I was telling Peter before this, it's hard to do a 2 out of 3 falls match because you'll have a quick fall and then another quick fall and then a long fall. And at that point, why not just work a regular match that goes that length of time? Uh,
It's a weird crutch.
yeah. And but for this one, like it was a good 9-10 minutes before we had the first fall, and then it was another like 7 or 8 minutes before we got the second fall, and then like uh maybe another 10 minutes before we got the the final fall.
Hmm. It was really great pacing and it was deceptive too, just because of the way you know where the action was centered on. Because of that whole um, them just going at Gargano for so long.
Yeah, yeah, and the yeah they worked him. The hot tags, that was all really good. And when DIY hit the Shatter Machine on the Revival, that was I still think that probably would have been the best place to end the match, but when they kicked out, the place like lost the minds.
Mm-hmm.
And then when DIY finally won, which was a really good feel good moment, because these guys have been, so close for so much, and they went through some shit too. Like their characters built up a lot. Like
Yeah.
they went through some shit. They had their fight at the Cruiserweight Classic, which was arguably one of the best matches in the entire tournament. Uh, these guys have been through so much in their time chasing the belts, and they finally got it. They finally got it, and they had such a great celebration. Like my favorite moment ever is when they're hanging out in the crowd, and Gargano just like reaches up behind him and like kisses the guy on the head.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god,
So,
you're so adorable.
it was super powerful.
Yeah, it was, and the crowd was so into this match. It really, really took it to a whole nother level, like the Zayn and Nakamura match. Uh,
Mm-hmm. It was just the spirit of wrestling was in this match.
yeah, and it's so.
So
I
much.
think one of the things that makes tag team wrestling so compelling is that you have all these working parts, and you can, have these like, you can break up the pin attempt, and protect guys' moves better. Like, when they, I can't, like at the finish, right? When they have the stereo submissions going,
Yeah.
and they're like, the Dash and Dawson are hanging on to each other like Jack and Rose at the end of the Titanic.
Yeah.
Like that was
That was
that was such a
that was
great
great.
moment that you can't do in a singles match.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's it makes it just a unique experience, and again, like you said, the revival they've been bringing it back, and they've been bringing it hard.
Yeah. So those are our Saturn Slammy winners. Just as a recap, for those of you coming in late or just want a recap for whatever reason. Superstar of the Year, Dean Ambrose. Tag Team of the Year, The Revival. Feud of the Year, Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles. Show of the Year, Battleground. Oh, we didn't talk about Show of the Year, did we? I skipped that.
No, let's do it now.
All right, so Show of the Year, we went with Battleground, and this was a real difficult choice between Battleground and Money in the Bank. And you might be like, well, wasn't Takeover Dallas a better show than either of those? And you have a point to make there, but just the magnitude of some of the matches on Battleground and Money in the Bank were just a lot. They felt a lot more important than the NXT shows.
Right.
And this was a real back and forth because Battleground definitely has the stronger card when you look at it. There were 3 really good matches on this Battleground card, or 2 really good matches, like match of the year quality and a solid undercard. Whereas with Money in the Bank, you had 3 matches that were really good, not quite as good as the 2 good ones on Battleground, and a weak undercard, but like an incredible moment to end the show.
Yeah. Those last few minutes it lights a fire in the hearts of the fans.
Even the most jaded wrestling fan cried that day. In the end, we went with Battleground on the strength of its card. Not to take anything away from Money in the Bank, but to have both the Shield triple threat and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's best match in WWE on the same card, really difficult to beat. And the ending for this one was pretty cool too, because Dean was in there alone, repping it. This was the first pay-per-view after the brand split. And Dean was in there alone, trying to hold it down for SmackDown. And he did.
Yeah.
He came out on top over both his Shield brethren, who both, they both got the big push to the WWE title. They both got the long title reign long before he did. And for him to come out on top in that scenario was almost as much a feel-good moment as when he won the belt. And then to have the SmackDown locker room, come out and parade them around on their shoulders, it was nice.
Yeah.
So
It's just a symbolic feel-good moment that kind of encapsulated a lot of the feelings that just been
It really,
kind of summed up this
yeah,
year.
it really felt like it was the start of something new,
Hmm.
because 2015, Rollins was champion most of the year, and Reigns was in the main event most of the year, uh, and a lot of people didn't really like 2015 as a year in wrestling, uh, and then here we are 1 year later, and we have the brand split again. It felt like a new beginning, and we have this new champion that the people are behind, which is a weird concept in WWE these days. Have someone
Yeah.
people want to have champion as champion and actually book him well. Uh,
Oh, that's
Unheard of. Um, so it really felt like it was kind of emblematic of the new beginning that they wanted to push here. And it was a new beginning for SmackDown. Raw kind of like fell right back into its doldrums.
yeah. Well,
But hey,
can't all be winners.
it's a new year. Maybe Raw will improve. Probably not, but who knows? So finishing up, most 2016 match of the year was Ambrose versus Styles at TLC. Best tabular construction was the Kevin Owens Convention Center from the Hell in a Cell match between he and Seth Rollins. And our match of the year was hashtag DIY versus the Revival from NXT TakeOver Toronto.
Yeah.
That's the Saturn Slammies. We got a little bit crazy here with all these pay-per-views. They're dialing the number back next year. I think it's down to 15 versus the 19 that we had this year. So we're going to try to get back with our regular prediction and reviews of the pay-per-views going forward. Next one will be the Royal Rumble, which is always a very important pay-per-view and always a fun pay-per-view. That comes the 24th of January, so we'll have predictions up before then and a review afterward. And thank you very much for tuning in here, and we'll see you all next time.
Yep. See you then.
Bye-bye.